Retirement is like a flight, not a quick puddle jumper to grandma's house. I'm talking a long haul, 30-year, non-stop, no layovers, and absolutely no getting off early. And here's the kicker. The seat you're sitting in for those 3 decades, you booked it years ago, whether you realized it or not. Some of you are up front in first class. Warm towel, the seat folds into a bed, somebody keeps refilling your glass, and you don't even look at the prices on the menu because why would you? Some of you are in the main cabin. Decent leg room, your snack is paid for, you can recline a little, and honestly, you're comfortable. You're not stressing. You're gonna land just fine. And then, some of you are in the very last row, by the bathroom. The seat doesn't recline, the middle seat, and the person next to you is Medicare Part B, and he will not stop taking your armrest. So today we're talking about the 3 financial classes of retirement in 2026, the rich, the comfortable, and let's call them the financially turbulent. Because the truth is, almost every American retiree lands in one of these 3 cabins. And the wildest part, the part nobody tells you, is that which seat you get has way less to do with how much money you made, and way more with a handful of boring, hard decisions you made decades before you ever clocked out for the last time. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which cabin you're currently booked into, and more importantly, how to upgrade your seat before the gate closes. Let's start at the back of the plane, because that's where the adventure usually begins. Class number 1, the broke retiree. Basic economy. Meet Dwayne. Dwayne is 68. Dwayne worked his whole life. Construction, then a warehouse, then driving for a parts supplier. Good worker, never missed a shift. But Dwayne also never really saved because every time he got a little ahead, life sent him a bill. A transmission, a furnace, a kid's wedding, a different kid's bail. We've all got a Dwayne. Some of us are Dwayne. No shame here. So what does Dwayne's retirement actually look like in 2026? Dwayne lives almost entirely on Social Security. The average retired worker's check this year is about $2,064 a month. That's roughly $24,800 a year. And depending on which survey you look at, the typical retiree sitting right in the middle of the pack is pulling in somewhere in the high $20,000 a year once you add up everything they've got. Studies vary, so treat that as a ballpark, not gospel. But it tells you the shape of the thing. Now, that's not nothing, but let's do Dwayne math. Out of that monthly check, Medicare Part B already grabs about $203 right off the top. Rent or property taxes take a massive bite. Groceries cost what they cost now, which is to say, a single bag at the store somehow runs you $80 and you're not even sure what you bought. By the time Dwayne pays for housing, food, utilities, and the medications that keep him upright, there is approximately nothing. The fun budget is a myth. A trip is when the doctor's office is in a different zip code. And here's the stat that defines this cabin. In Northwestern Mutual's most recent study, nearly half of Americans who aren't yet retired say they don't expect to be financially ready when the time comes. Almost half. And about half also think it's likely they'll outlive their savings. This isn't a fringe problem. It's the single most common retirement story in the country. And look, I want to be really honest with you for a second because it'd be easy to watch this and think Dwayne screwed up. He didn't really. Dwayne played a tough hand about as reasonably as anyone could. Wages didn't keep up with prices. Pensions basically went extinct. The whole system quietly shifted the entire risk of retirement off of companies and onto regular people like Dwayne, and then forgot to hand anybody the instruction manual. So if you see yourself in Dwayne, hear me clearly. This isn't a "you're a bad person who made bad choices" video. Half the country is on this exact plane, and most of them worked just as hard as anybody up front. So the mistake to avoid isn't being Dwayne. The mistake is staying on one engine when you've still got time to build a second one. That's the part that's truly in your hands. Because the difference between this cabin and the next one isn't talent or luck or a giant salary. It's 2 things: a second source of income beyond Social Security and getting your big fixed costs, especially housing, under control before you retire. This is absolutely buildable, even starting late. But for now, just know this cabin is real, it's crowded, and the goal of this entire video is to keep you out of it. Class 2, the comfortable retiree. Main cabin. Now let's move up a few rows to where most of us are hoping to land. The comfortable retiree. This is the sweet spot. And honestly, it's a better deal than most people give it credit for. Meet Aunt Linda. Aunt Linda is 66, retired 2 years ago from a career in nursing, and Aunt Linda is thriving. Not rich, but thriving. She's got a paid-off house, a modest 401k she actually contributed to, Social Security, and a small pension from the hospital. Aunt Linda goes to water aerobics. Aunt Linda has a cruise booked. Aunt Linda just bought a kayak she will use exactly twice. And that, my friends, is the dream. So, what are the numbers behind Aunt Linda's good life? A comfortable retiree in 2026, by the rough benchmarks a lot of retirement planners point to, is generally bringing in somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year. Call it $5,000 to about $8,300 a month for the household. On the net worth side, many advisors put the comfortable range at roughly $750,000 to $1.5 million, and a huge chunk of that, sometimes a quarter to half, is home equity. These aren't official cutoffs. Different studies draw the lines in different places, but that paid-off house isn't just a place to keep your stuff, it's a financial force field. Here's the engine that makes the main cabin work, and I want you to really hear this part. Comfortable retirees almost always have more than one source of income. Most analyses of this question land in the same place. The thing that tends to separate a struggling retiree from a comfortable one is whether there's a second fairly dependable source of money stacked on top of Social Security, a pension, an annuity, a portfolio big enough to throw off real cash. Call it the upgrade ticket from the back of the plane to the main cabin. But income is only half the story, and this is where people get tripped up. The other half is healthcare. Even with Medicare, a typical 65-year-old couple retiring today can expect to spend a genuinely eye-watering amount on medical costs over the rest of their lives. Premiums, deductibles, dental, hearing, and the big scary one, long-term care, which Medicare mostly doesn't cover at all. The comfortable retiree isn't comfortable because they ignored that bill. They're comfortable because they planned for it with a cushion, instead of getting blindsided at 78. Picture Aunt Linda's situation more concretely. Say she and her husband both collect roughly average Social Security, that's around $49,000 a year combined, plus a portfolio of maybe $600,000 to $750,000 that responsibly kicks off another $25,000 to $30,000. Stack that together and you're comfortably inside that $75,000 to $85,000 household range. That's not yacht money, but that is, we're going to Italy and we're not checking the exchange rate every 5 minutes money. The thing about the comfortable retiree is they figured out a quiet little secret. You do not need to be rich to feel rich in retirement. You just need your dependable income to comfortably cover your actual lifestyle, including healthcare, with a cushion left over for the kayak. Comfortable isn't about the size of the pile. It's about the gap between what you've got coming in and what you're spending. Close that gap, and you've basically printed yourself peace of mind. This is the cabin I want for most of you watching. It's realistic, it's reachable, and the snacks are still free. Class 3, the rich retiree. Up the jet bridge, past the curtain, into first class. Let's talk about the rich retiree. Now, I want to be clear about what rich actually means here, because TV has fried all of our brains. Rich in retirement in the real world mostly means one thing. You have so much income coming in that you literally cannot outspend it doing normal human activities. Your money makes money faster than you can reasonably blow it. That's the entire flex. Meet our first-class passenger. We'll call her Carol. Carol retired at 61 with about $3 million spread across her 401k, a brokerage account, and some rental property. Carol's portfolio throws off well over $100,000 a year all by itself, and that's before Social Security even shows up to the party. Picture a couple like Carol and her husband. A $2 million portfolio alone can responsibly generate something in the neighborhood of $80,000 a year. And once you stack their Social Security on top, you're looking at $150,000 plus in household income without anybody going back to work. Carol's biggest financial stress is which grandkids' college fund to overfund first. Carol tips like she's trying to win an award. The magic number people obsess over? Americans now say they think they need about $1.46 million to retire comfortably, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 study, up from $1.26 million the year before. The first-class crew blew past that number a long time ago and just kept climbing. But here's the part I really want you to sit with because it's what makes first class different from the cabins below it. And it's not the size of the number, it's how these people behave with money. 3 things, specifically.
First, they spend from a position of total security, which sounds obvious but changes everything. The comfortable retiree spends carefully because they have to. The rich retiree spends carefully because they choose to, and a lot of them actually underspend because the habits that got them there don't switch off. Second, and this is the big one, market downturns genuinely don't spare them, and there's a mechanical reason why. The rich retiree almost always has a fat cash and bond buffer, often a couple of years of living expenses, sitting in safe stuff. So when the stock market does its dramatic little feint, they don't have to sell anything at the bottom to eat. And third, their attention shifts from accumulating to directing. Once your income floor is bulletproof, the game stops being "do I have enough?" and becomes "where does this go?" Taxes become a real focus, managing withdrawals to stay in lower brackets, Roth conversions in low-income years, being smart about which accounts they pull from first. Legacy becomes a focus. What goes to the kids? What goes to charity? How to hand it off without the IRS taking a giant bite. Rich retirees aren't smarter than the rest of us. They just graduated to a different set of problems. Okay, Maddie, how do I actually upgrade? Great question, imaginary viewer. Let's get tactical. Move number 1, build a second source of income. The thing that most reliably separates the back row from the main cabin is having money coming in from somewhere besides Social Security. If your job has a 401k match, that's free upgrade miles. Max what you reasonably can. No pension? Then your portfolio is your pension, so build it on purpose. Some folks even use an annuity later on to create a paycheck that shows up like clockwork. The goal is simple: never fly on one engine.
Move number 2, clear the mortgage before you retire.
I cannot overstate this. Housing is the single biggest line item separating comfortable retirees from struggling ones. A paid-off home in a reasonable cost area can save you a fortune over a retirement compared to renting somewhere expensive. Walking into retirement with no house payment is like boarding the plane with your bags already at the destination. Move number 3, defend yourself against lifestyle creep. Every time you get a raise, your spending wants to grow to match it. That's the silent killer that lands high earners in basic economy. The move is to bank the raise instead of upgrading the lifestyle. Future you, the one trying to recline that seat, is begging you. Move number 4, and this one's free. Don't panic. The retirees who end up in the front of the plane are the ones who stayed invested through every scary headline and every market tantrum. The ones who bailed at the bottom and stuffed everything under the mattress, they miss the recovery every single time. Discipline beats brilliance in this game, all day long. The myth is, we naturally assume the 3 classes of retirement are decided by how much money you made. Big income, first class. Small income, back of the plane. Simple, right? It's wrong. It's so wrong. Your retirement cabin is decided overwhelmingly by your savings rate and your fixed costs, not your paycheck. It's the gap between what you earned and what you kept, compounded over decades. The person who saved 15% of a modest salary for 30 years and walked into retirement with no mortgage will absolutely smoke the person who earned triple but saved nothing and still owes on 2 cars at a lake house. Think about it like booking a flight. You don't get upgraded to first class because you walked into the airport with a fat wallet that day. You get upgraded because of all the little decisions you made way ahead of time. The points you racked up, the membership you kept, the planning you did months in advance. Retirement is the exact same thing. The cabin you board is the sum of 1,000 small choices you made years before the plane even left the ground. Which is fantastic news, because it means this is mostly in your hands. You can't always control your salary, but you can absolutely control your savings rate, your debt, and whether you let lifestyle creep eat you alive. And those are the things that actually decide your seat. So here's what I want you to do right now, before you click away. Drop a comment and tell me honestly, which cabin are you currently booked into and which one are you aiming for? I read these and I promise yours is more common than you think. I hope this has helped you see your own retirement a little more clearly. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, save like your future self is watching, because trust me, from that 30-year flight, they absolutely are.